High hopes had been established by the people of Indonesia on the performance of Indonesia Maju Cabinet. Expectations of the investors on the current cabinet also had been captured by the survey that had been conducted by some news portal. One of the concerns in the eyes of investors is the age of the ministers that will be assigned in economic sectors. To know more better about the result of the survey, let's check the first infographic. Through the data, we can see the ideal age of the ministers of economy. So, let's begin by 21 years old to 30 years old. 2% of the respondent really wants the ministers of economy by 21 years old until 30 years old, while 21% of the respondent wants the ministers of economy by the age of 31 years old until 40 years old. While 62% of the respondent prefer the Minister of Economy that in the year of 41 years old to 50 years old, while 3% of the respondents really wants to 51 years old until 60 years old Minister of Economy, while above 60, there's no respondent of that. While the respondents of 12% really doesn't considering the age of the ideal minister economy. And Katadata, one of the most largest and famous database new portal, conducted a survey so-called Katadata Investors Confidence Index. The survey tried to capture what investors expect on the current ministerial cabinet. The result, most of the respondents, or as much as 62% out of 272 respondents, expected the age of the ministers that assigned in economic affairs better have the age between 41 until 50 years old. Turns out the expectations can be realized since the age of ministers in economic sector in Indonesia Maju Cabinet are mostly above 50 years old. The hope on younger age of the ministers of economic affairs is based on the expectations that young minister can work fastly and productively. And talking about the percentage of young ministers in Jokowi's second period cabinet, we can see it through the next data as well. Here's the percentage of the ministers under 50 years old in Indonesia Maju Cabinet. Under 50 years old, there are 5 ministers, which is only reached 1.7% of the ministers, while 50 years old and above 50 years old, there are 29 ministers, which is only hit the 98.3% of the total ministers. And beside the age of ministers, the other thing that have been focused in the public eyes is the background of the ministers. 55% of it have a professional background and 45% of it had a political parties. The formulation is in line with the Joko Widodo said in the earlier phase of the minister selections. The Indonesia Democratic Party of Struggle, or PDIP, is political party with the biggest number of cadres that join Indonesia Maju Cabinet. Golkar, National Democrat, and PKB have 3 cadres in the cabinet, and Gerindra have 2 cadres. One of them is the leader of the party himself, Prabowo Subianto. Meantime, the United Development Party, or PPP, have only 1 cadre that joined the cabinet. And back again to the result of the survey that had been conducted by Katadata, called Katadata Investor Confidence Index, gender proportions also being a concern in investors' eyes. So let's check the next data to know the result of the survey. Here we can see the investor expectations on gender proportions in the economic affairs and ministers' formations. 3% of the respondents really prefer 75% of male and 25 female. While 40% of the respondents really want the equality of this, we can see 50% female and 50% male. While 27% of the respondents choose to have 75% female, while 25% male. While 30% of the respondents is not really considering about the gender proportions. So as much as 27% of the respondents expected that 25% of the cabinet members consist of the male ministers, while 50% of the respondents expect the number of female and male ministers can be equal. and only 3% of the respondents expected the number of ministers in Indonesia Maju Cabinet should be dominated by the male ministers. But the expectations on an equal number between female and female ministers seems to fail meet reality. Indonesia Maju Cabinet only have 5 female ministers, or only as much as 1.7% from the total 34 ministers. They are Retno LP Masudi as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we got Sri Mulyani, Minister of Finance, Siti Nurbaya Bakar as the Minister of Forestry and Environment, Ida Fauzia as the Minister of Manpower, and I Gusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati as the Minister of Female Empowerment and Child Protections. And next graphic will be about the number of ministers that in the age that under 50 years old. Who are they? What's the achievement? Let's check the next graphic. First of all, Nadiem Makarim. Media really loves him because the Minister of Education and Culture is the former CEO of a ride-hailing application so-called Gojek, and really famous in Indonesia. And he is only 35 years old. And next, what we got? Here, through the photo, we can see this is Wisnu Tama as the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy. And better yet, the age is only 43 years old. And next, we're going to see who's next actually. Here's we got Juliari Batubara, and set as a Minister of Social Affairs, which is only 47 years old. And next, we can see the next minister is Edi Prabowo, the Minister of Fisheries and Maritime Affairs, that replaced Ms. Susi Pujastuti with only 47 years old. And next, we can see through the photo, we can examine this is Eric Thohir as the Minister of State-Owned Enterprises by only 49 years old. Marvelous. An analyst in Politics and International Department of Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, Arya Fernandez said that some challenges that will be faced by these young ministers are they have to have maximum capability in delivering tasks to senior bureaucrats inside the ministries, and they need to have a good managerial skill and also good capability in developing network with the House of Representatives and state institutions. Jokowi delivered his important message for his so-called winning team this morning. What are those? Let's check the next graphic, what the president said. This is Jokowi's message to his current cabinet. First of all, no corruptions, since Indonesia are dealing with corruption often enough. And second, there's only president and vice president visions and missions to be held on. And the third one is work fastly and productively. And the fourth one is don't get trapped into such a routinity. And the fifth one is result orientations. And the sixth one is actively check and balance. And the last one, which is really important in here, work seriously. There are the list of strong messages that had been delivered by the CEO of the country, President Joko Widodo. And hopefully all the ministers can work maximally to reach the goal of the country to become a forward, progressive, and advanced Indonesia. Therefore, stay tuned on market headlines because we will be right back after the break.